My name is Emily Chen. I'm 32 years old, and I'm a cryptographic analyst at a federal research division so classified, even my job title is redacted on paper. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. I'll be flown by Marine One to the White House for a private cybersecurity briefing with the President of the United States. But tonight, I'm just Emily, quiet, unmarried, no kids, sitting at my dad's 65th birthday dinner. To most people here, I'm still the librarian or the girl who never left school. The cousin who doesn't say much. The daughter who never quite fit. They don't know that 3 weeks ago, I stopped a digital breach that could have brought the entire U.S. banking system to its knees. They don't know because they never asked. And honestly, I stopped offering answers a long time ago. You ever feel that? Like you could be saving the world quietly, and they'd still ask if you've considered teaching piano instead. I pulled into my father's driveway at 6:42 p.m. The house hadn't changed. Same blue paint peeling near the window frames. Same flickering porch light that never quite got fixed. Same cracked step that everyone warned Grandma about, but no one actually repaired. The front yard was freshly mowed. My uncle must have done it. Dad always bragged about how he keeps things clean. The real work, of course, was always silent, always invisible. Kind of like me. My rented Prius looked completely out of place between my cousin Eric's Tesla and my brother Nathan's brand new Jeep. I sat for a moment before turning off the engine, letting the quiet wrap around me like armor. My hands rested calmly on the steering wheel. To someone else, I might have looked nervous. But you and I both know the truth. This wasn't fear. This was composure. This was muscle memory. This was what I'd trained for. And yet, stepping onto that porch felt harder than stepping into any classified briefing. Because I knew exactly what I was walking into. The hugs would be polite. The questions surface level. The assumptions unchanged. They still thought I shelved books. They still thought I was drifting. And for years, I let them believe it. Inside, the house buzzed with polite chatter and clinking glasses. Someone had set the dining table with gold-trimmed plates and paper napkins folded like fans. My cousin's baby squealed. A slideshow played on the TV, photos of Dad through the decades. "Emily," my aunt called out as she approached. Her hug was quick, scented with lavender and something condescending. "Still working at that library, sweetie." I nodded, something like that. She beamed, proud of her ability to remember anything at all. "Must be nice, being around all those books. You always loved reading." I smiled. You learn not to correct people after a while. My mom came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Emily, help me grab the salad, will you?" Of course, because nothing says "welcome home" like being treated as extra hands. We sat down for dinner. My brother Nathan gave a toast about Dad's long career in real estate. Everyone cheered. Someone brought up Eric's new position at Google Senior something. I couldn't catch the full title over the laughter. Then came the moment I always dreaded. "So Emily," my cousin's wife asked brightly, "what do you do again?" "I'm in information science," I said carefully. "Oh, like databases." "Sort of." My uncle chimed in. "Hey, if you're good with tech, maybe you can fix my Wi-Fi before you leave tonight." I chuckled politely. No one meant harm, but no one meant curiosity either. They weren't listening. They never had. Tomorrow morning, I'll brief the president on how we prevented a coordinated attack on national financial servers by decoding a triple-layered algorithm no one thought was breakable. But tonight, I pass the bread and refill glasses like I never left. You sat across from me at dinner, slicing your roast chicken, nodding along to Nathan's stories about his new condo. You didn't ask what I'd been working on. You didn't ask how life in D.C. was. And when I said I'd flown in that morning, you didn't ask from where. But if you had, I would have told you I've been working in a secure facility beneath Arlington for the last 18 months. That I was recruited out of grad school by a federal defense agency that doesn't publicly advertise job postings. That I've spent the past year mapping potential threat vectors across every digital access point in the American banking grid. 3 weeks ago, our system detected a silent breach code that looked benign on the surface but was burrowed deep, waiting for a trigger. I was the first to see it. At 2:14 a.m. On a Tuesday, I flagged an anomaly in a data stream no one else was monitoring. By 3:00 a.m., we were in lockdown. By 3:42, the code was neutralized. Had we missed it by even an hour, over $9 trillion in U.S. assets might have been exposed. Savings accounts wiped. Small businesses shattered. Panic, collapse, riots. But it didn't happen because I was watching. Because I understood the silence. And while you told me at dinner that you'd never really gotten the point of all this cybersecurity stuff, I smiled and passed the salt. The lemon cake had just been served. Dad was making a speech, something about legacy and lessons and how family always sticks together. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. Twice, I glanced down. Encrypted message. Priority level 1. It simply read. Final confirmation. Marine 1 arrival 7:30. White House East Lawn. I locked the screen. Across the table, Nathan leaned over. Work again. Yeah, I said softly. Some old microfilm emergency. He smirked. I smiled back. He didn't know. No one knew. And I wasn't going to explain. Not tonight, not here. You see, after enough years of being overlooked, you learn the power of stillness. You stop needing to convince anyone of your value. You just wait for the right moment to let your work speak louder than their assumptions ever could. I stood up to help clear the plates. My uncle gave me a wink. You're always so helpful. That's what they see. Helpful, quiet, unmarried. Book smart. But tomorrow, when I step into the West Wing with classified documents in my hand and 6-star clearance behind my badge, no one will ask if I'm helpful. They'll ask how I stopped a silent war. I arrived at the airfield just before sunrise. No makeup, no frills, just a black suit, crisp collar, federal clearance clipped to my pocket. I stepped into the chopper. No one asked my name, they already knew. By 7:42 a.m., I was walking through the side entrance of the West Wing past 3 layers of facial recognition and 2 armed checkpoints. At 8:00, I sat across from 2 generals, 1 Treasury advisor, and the President's national security liaison. I placed my briefcase on the table and entered the final override code. Documents decrypted, eyes narrowed, silence. Then the door opened. The President stepped in, calm, focused. He scanned the room, then turned to me. Dr. Chen, he said, I've read your report twice. Your work likely prevented the largest cyber event in American history. A pause, not awkward, respectful. I wanted to thank you in person. I stood, nodded. It was a team effort, sir. He smiled. You led that team. And just like that, the room shifted. No one cared that I was 32. No one asked if I was married. No one asked where I went to undergrad, because the moment was clear. Not because I demanded it, but because I'd earned it. And that's the thing about presence. It doesn't need a microphone. It just needs to be undeniable. That evening, I got back to my apartment in D.C., shoes off. Suit jacket folded neatly over the chair. The city skyline blinked beyond my window. I made tea, jasmine, like Mom used to brew. The silence was warm this time, not empty. At 9:13 p.m., my phone rang. Dad. I stared at the screen for a moment. We hadn't spoken on the phone in months. Our last conversation was about car insurance. I answered. Hey, I said. There was a pause. Then, I saw your name. His voice was careful, like stepping on glass barefoot. I was watching the news, something about a cyber emergency. You were involved. I was, I replied. The White House asked for an in-person briefing. More silence. I didn't know, he said. I always thought you were doing, I don't know, research, something in a basement. I am doing research, I said, just with national implications. He chuckled. a soft, awkward sound. I guess we underestimated that. I didn't say anything. I let the weight of his words land. He cleared his throat. Your mom and we didn't really understand what you were doing. I know, I said. That's why I stopped trying to explain. 3 days later, a package arrived at my apartment. Brown craft paper. My dad's handwriting on the label careful block letters like he always used for bills and birthday cards. Inside was a simple black frame. Behind the glass was an old photo of me 6 years old, bowl cut and all standing at a science fair next to a model of the solar system made out of styrofoam and yarn. First place ribbon pinned to the corner. Taped to the bottom of the frame was a yellow sticky note. It said, "We should have seen it then." Dad. That was all. No grand apology, no explanations. But in some strange, quiet way it was enough. Because acknowledgement doesn't always come in speeches. Sometimes it arrives in a cardboard box, folded in memory and regret. And sometimes you don't need people to catch up to your journey. You just need them to admit they finally looked in your direction. You might think I wanted to prove something, that I walked into that boardroom for vindication, that every quiet dinner, every overlooked holiday, every comment about real jobs was fuel. But the truth is I wasn't angry. I was focused. I had work to do. I had things to build, systems to protect, people to keep safe even if they'd never know it was me. This was never about showing them who I became. It was about being who I became, regardless of whether they saw it or not. Because real clarity doesn't need an audience. And you know that too, don't you? When you've walked enough lonely paths, when you've poured years into something no one else can measure, the validation stops mattering. You're not looking for applause anymore. You're just looking to keep the lights on, to keep the damage contained, to show up fully, steadily, whether they clap or not. That's what I did. And that's what made all the difference. Tonight, my apartment is quiet. A warm lamp glows in the corner. A cup of tea steams beside my laptop. The city hums outside, unaware, uncaring, and I'm okay with that. There's no medal on the wall, no headline taped to the fridge. Just a photo of 6-year-old me, a sticky note from my father, and a small brass plaque gifted by my team. It reads, "Trusted, proven, quietly unshakable." I don't need recognition to be real. I don't need my family to fully understand me. I don't even need the world to remember my name, because I remember who I've become, and that's enough. So if they ever underestimated, you let them. If they dismissed, you don't argue. Keep building, keep showing up, keep rising in silence, because the most powerful thing you can ever become is undeniable, not loud, not flashy, just unmistakably, quietly, completely you.